Welcome into another week of Cronkite Sports Now. I'm Rob Warner. Happy Monday. We start today's show with two Suns players squaring off on the court. Okay, not the actual hardwood, but Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton did go head-to-head to face off in the final of the NBA Players 2K Challenge on Saturday night. Booker swept Ayton in the best-of-3 final, winning the tournament and claiming $100,000 to go to a charity of Booker's choosing. Phoenix's lone all-star this year announced he was donating the money to Direct Relief and the Arizona Food Bank Network in support of ongoing coronavirus relief efforts. In tragic news, NBA All-Star Karl-Anthony Towns' mother, Jacqueline Towns, passed away today from COVID-19, according to a Minnesota Timberwolves press release. The statement reads, "The Towns family is heartbroken by the untimely passing of Jacqueline Towns due to complications as a result of COVID-19. Jackie, as she was affectionately known among family and friends, had been battling the virus for more than a month when she succumbed on April 13th. While it's been a tough start to the offseason for ASU men's basketball, with Remy Martin and Romello White declaring for the NBA draft, Bobby Hurley's team got some good news on Saturday when former Portland State guard and Phoenix native Holland Woods announced his commitment to ASU, saying on Twitter, he's coming home. As a junior, Woods averaged 17.7 points, 5.2 assists, and 2.5 rebounds while shooting 41.5% from the field and over 30% from three-point range. The former Apollo I standout only has 1 year of eligibility remaining and will have to sit out next season. A Chandler man has his sights set on competing next year in the Water Skiing World Championships. Reporter Sean Rice has the story.
What would you be doing at 85 years old? Sipping a cup of coffee with your feet kicked up? Ed Fisher does one rather unusual thing every day.
I ski.
But why, you may ask?
Because I can. And I feel good. I still feel like a kid. Maybe I'm older, but I don't feel it.
Fisher trains 6 days a week for hours a day, and even he is dumbfounded at how he keeps it up.
I don't know, really. I just live like everybody else. I don't eat healthy. I have some workout equipment at home that I play with. I hang upside down every day.
Jokes aside, there are a few old activities that Ed still enjoys to this day.
I still like to dance to the 50s, and I like to have a good time. I like race cars. I have fast cars that I play with, and I think all that keeps you young.
Carolyn Cheatham and Lloyd Johnson are two of Ed's training buddies. They know how incredible and unusual it is to see how great of a skier Ed is at his age.
If you consider someone who's 85, a grandparent or a friend, and mobility is an issue, seeing what Ed does, which someone in their 20s struggles to do, it really is incredible.
He is basically one of the few people in his age that actually can even get up on a water ski. A lot of the skiers he skis against have to have two water skis to get up out of the water, whereas he can get up out of the water on one ski. So he's a genetic anomaly.
Ed Fisher is a competitive slalom skier. He uses a single ski like I have right in front of me. Now, when beginners start skiing, they use a double ski and then graduate to a single ski because single skiing is a lot more difficult. It's pretty incredible that Ed Fisher, at 85 years old, is still breaking records at single slalom skiing in Arizona.
I have won the Western Regional 3 times. I've won the Nationals once, and now I'm shooting to go to the Worlds. They made a age bracket basically for older people, me included.
Those closest to Ed are still searching for answers as to how he keeps it up. Is it the genes, or does Ed simply have the fountain of youth?
He definitely genetically has some makeup that he has maintained the fountain of youth, because it's just incredible to watch him and to gain the coaching and the feedback from him, because he's got years and years of experience.
He really doesn't do much to stay in shape. I think he's got the right genes, and he's been out here skiing for like 40 years. So basically he's just here a lot and he skis a lot.
The key to longevity may be elusive for some, but it's rather simple for Ed.
You just have to want to do something and want to do it bad enough that you do it. Now I ski, if I do have any competitors, they're usually ex-world or national champions, and I can ski better than them. It makes me feel good.
In Chandler, Sean Rice, Cronkite News.
Ed has been training with the goal of qualifying for the World Championships, which are set to begin next year in France. We now welcome in our digital and social media producer, Emma Fernandez, to shed some light on how Cronkite Sports has come up with this movie bracket on its Twitter account. Emma, thank you for joining us. And what was the process for your team in coming up with this sort of idea?
Hey Rob, thanks for having me. So it was kind of a team effort. We were just throwing the idea around one day in one of our daily Zoom meetings. We're a bunch of sports nerds. We were talking about our favorite sports movies, and I was thinking, we're all missing March Madness. We're all missing, bracketology. How cool would it be if we put together a bracket for the greatest sports movie of all time? People started throwing ideas around. Things kind of got the ball rolling. And we ended up with about 140, 150 movies. And I was like, this is way too many to just do a 64 March Madness bracket. So we decided to do like a conference tournament. We had movies face off against movies in their own sport. So football movies versus football movies, baseball, and so on. And then through these conference tournaments, we kind of narrowed it down to the top 64. We put together a committee that picked the top 64 movies, kind of using the performance in the conference tournaments. And then once we got down to that top 64, we started doing just like a normal March Madness bracketology. And that actually started today.
And what's been the process behind the seeding, and how has that gone for you guys so far?
So right now we're using something called RTI. It's the Rotten Tomato Index. So basically I just, for all the movies, looked up their Rotten Tomato scores and seeded them that way. And then just, 1 versus 150 or whatever until we got down. Everyone voted. And then when we got down to the top 64, we used the RTI and then also their performance in the conference tournament. So however they did in the polls, like for example, Benchwarmers only had an 11 on the RTI. It was our second to worst movie, but it was one of our most popular in the polls. So that's something that snuck into the bracket, but maybe wouldn't have been there if we had just used RTI. So that's kind of the behind the scenes work.
And what's happening today with some of the matchups that have been posted?
Yeah, so like I said earlier today, we just launched our very first round. So from the top 64, we kind of split them into 4 regions. We have the East, North, West, and South. Today is the East. So round 1, East matchups. I think the biggest matchup is probably going to be Rocky versus She's the Man. Rocky is obviously such a great movie, phenomenal, well-known sports movie, but I think She's the Man's a sleeper pick. Pretty popular movie with Amanda Bynes, so that could definitely get some good action. And then, like I said, our sleeper RTI 11 Benchwarmers movies in there versing off against our number 1 pick, Hoop Dreams.
Okay, well, Emma, thanks very much for the information. And for everybody, you can go to Cronkite Sports' Twitter page, Sports Cronkite, and vote on the movies. We now welcome in reporter Patty Vicente. And Patty, you wrote a story about the Arizona Diamondbacks receiving the first All-Star game in the team's history. What more can you tell us about how important that was for the franchise?
Obviously, like you said, it was huge. It was their first All-Star game. They were still kind of a relatively young team, and they were the first team to be awarded their first All-Star game since 1998, when the Colorado Rockies were awarded their first All-Star game in Denver. And let's also remember that this was during the time when All-Star game winners were still determining who had home field advantage for the World Series. So there was still kind of a level of competitiveness that we don't see as often anymore.
And so with this being the first time the Diamondbacks were awarded this game and got this, sort of celebration for all of Major League Baseball, what were some of the first that you took account of?
Yeah, so the biggest one was that even though Chase Field was a National League field, it was the first time that there was a designated hitter in an All-Star game. So that was something that was pretty big, especially for those purists that believe that there shouldn't be designated hitters at all, that pitcher should bat. So that was something that was super big in the Midsummer Classic. Another thing was that this was the first time that there was such a big roster size. There was a lot of injuries and reinforcements for this All-Star game, that there was a record-breaking 84 players named to the team rosters in this game in 2011, which just beat the previous record of 82 back in 2010.
And there was a lot of controversy surrounding Arizona SB 1070. What was that about?
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Arizona SB 1070 is an anti-illegal immigration bill that was passed in 2010. So we're kind of nearing the 10-year anniversary of that as well. And that required aliens older than the age of 18 to possess proper identification with themselves at all times. There were some critics and many other people who were calling it racial profiling, and there were some people such as New York Congressman Jose Serrano who even suggested that teams should protest it, they should boycott the All-Star game in Arizona, but MLB Commissioner Bud Selig just didn't change his mind and the All-Star game went on.
And when you look back on April 11th, 2011, what really stands out to you about the event in its totality?
I think the biggest thing is that then manager of the Diamondbacks, Bob Melvin, actually made the announcement the day before in an unofficial way at a press conference. So many people already knew what they were coming into that Saturday. And it's just something that highlights Chase Field and the organization. Like I said, they were still a pretty young team. They had the World Series back in 2001. And just to have an All-Star game too was a big thing for the people here of Arizona and also just the team in general.
Okay, so you can check out Patty's article on cronkitenews.azpbs.org. Patty, thanks very much for the time. That wraps up our show for today. Thank you for tuning in. For more Arizona sports content, you can head over to the Cronkite Sports tab on arizonasports.com. And for news coverage, you can check out Cronkite News' work at cronkitenews.azpbs.org. Now let's stay positive, let's stay healthy, and let's have a great week.